Comes in from the bottom end.
Call the meeting to order. Have a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion on the agenda.
And Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those say no. Public comment. We have nobody signed up. Anybody wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll go on to action items. Resolution 06-2015. Second reading.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve Resolution 06-2015, amending board policy, section 1.9, agenda preparation.
Second.
I believe first motion is read by title only.
I'll amend my motion to include to be read by title only.
Thank you. Second.
Second the motion.
Mr. Moore.
This is Resolution 06-2015, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 1.9. Whereas a regular board meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water District on January 8, 2015. Whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose there was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and or telephone to the members of the governing body, the news media, which has requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute. And for the benefit of the public, what this particular resolution is moving our distribution of board package material from 21 days to 17 days.
Okay, this is the second reading. Anyone from the public wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll have a voice vote. What's that?
Polling the board.
Poll. Thank you.
Commissioner
Those in favor
Humberston?
say aye, those opposed say no.
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye. Next one, action item is resolution 07-2015. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve Resolution 07-2015, amending board policy, section 1.10, preparation for board meetings, to be read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Moore.
Resolution 07-2015, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 1.10, whereas a regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of the Clackamas River Water District on January 8, 2015, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192-640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose there was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and or telephone to members of the governing body, the news media, which has requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute. For the benefit of the public who is in attendance, that this is really saving the district money in the fact that we're not going to be sending out 2 notices. We'll only send out 1 notice, and that will be the agenda.
This is the second reading. Is anyone in the audience wishing to testify? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Those opposed, or those going back tonight. Those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humberston?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye. Number 3, resolution 09-2015.
Mr. Chairman, this is the first reading of Resolution 09-2015. I move that the board approve Resolution 09-2015, amending board policy, section 3.2, Budget Committee, membership and responsibilities.
Second.
And read by title only.
And read by title only.
Mr. Chair, I've asked
And
our
this is the
CFO.
first reading.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I've asked our CFO, Ms. Bright, to read by title only on this motion. If you don't mind.
And, oh, Carol.
So this is Resolution 09-2015, a resolution amending Clackamas River Water Board Policy, Section 3.2, whereas a regular meeting was called by the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water on February 12, 2015, and whereas pursuant to the provisions of ORS 192.640, notice of said regular meeting and the purpose thereof was given by email, Clackamas River Water website, and/or telephone to members of the governing body, the news media which have requested notice, and the general public in accordance with the requirements of said statute. And again, for the benefit of the public, what we are doing with this board policy change is we are changing the membership terms of the Citizen Budget Committee members from 3-year terms to 4-year terms based on the changeover to the biennial budget that was approved at the last meeting.
Any member of the public, this first reading, any member of the public wishing to testify? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner
Those
Humber,
opposed? Those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humberston,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani,
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil,
Aye.
Commissioner Silla,
No. Action item number 4, resolution 10-2015.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the CRW Board adopt resolution number 10-2015, appointing Carol Bright, Chief Financial Officer, as the CRW Budget Officer for biennial period 2015 through 2017.
Second.
Anyone from the public who wishes to testify? If not, we'll have a roll call vote. Those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Mr. Chair, if you want to read by title.
Is that necessary?
This is just a resolution.
Stand corrected.
No, go ahead.
Commissioner Humberston,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani,
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil,
Aye, too.
Commissioner Silla,
Aye. Action item number 5, resolution 11-2015.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt resolution 11-2015 and approve the City of Milwaukee and Clackamas River Water intergovernmental agreement for billing retail water service within the city limits of the City of Milwaukee for Clackamas River water customers. And is this one where we would want to do it?
This is a resolution. Anyone from the public who wishes to testify? Seeing none, any commission have a comment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Go ahead.
It's all right. I just had one thing. There were some minor typos on the resolution page. So I move to approve with the typos being corrected.
Okay. I would also like to comment that as this is January 2015 and the IGA has not been approved, we would like to move the effective dates from January 31st, 2015 through January 31st, 2025.
I just have one question. Earlier, we talked about the city of Milwaukee wanting to have control of our billing for water so that they could shut off water and sewer if somebody didn't pay their sewer bill. Is this all that?
Yes. And Commissioner, you didn't ask the question, but there's an additional piece of information that was not provided when you had asked this question before. As you'll notice in this particular agreement, that in an agreement that was restated in May of 2008, and the agreement that preceded that agreement, the city of Milwaukee has always had that right to do the bill collection and manage our billing. And that wasn't identified to the board before or stated to the board before. I just wanted to pass that information on. So this is really saying that this is something that prior boards have already agreed to.
Any comments?
Nope.
Have a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Silva?
No. Action item number 6. PG ESG agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approves the revised PGE-DSG agreement and authorize the board president to sign the agreement for another 10-year term.
Second.
Adam, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just wanted to give a real brief summary of what the need is behind this item. The original agreement that was set up for the emergency generator was executed, approved by the board in February of 2012. And recently we were contacted by PGE requesting consideration of a revised agreement based on some changes that PGE was needing to make. Those changes include, among other things, adding some content to change coverage of equipment failure, should that occur. Also, that's content to address recent EPA rule and NRC standards. Clarifies payment of fuel costs, and really the bulk of the revisions are changing the language of the tense of the agreement from a proposed language, given that that was approved back when the generator was not even installed, to more of an operational language. I think they thought that was appropriate, and I agree that since now the project is online, it makes sense. And just to recap, the purpose behind the agreement, of course, is for CRW to participate in the dispatchable standby power program with PGE, wherein they cover operational costs and the maintenance costs of the generator in return for utilization of generator power. And of course, CRW in an emergency gets first right of use of that power. So it's quite a beneficial agreement, a relationship that CRW enjoys with PGE, and we are one of many in the region that are agencies or entities that are participating in this program. As I noted in the agenda write-up, because of the timing of the holidays and whatnot, we had sent the document to legal counsel to review, had not received comment at the time that the write-up was needed. But we have received that now, and I wanted to just go down and touch on a few things that were noted by the legal review. It really summarized in really the terms and conditions section, Exhibit 4, which is the very back end of the agreement, the fine print, if you will, those last couple of pages. Just going down the list, things that were noted by legal counsel, that no reference is made in the insurance provisions to CRW's limits of tort liability in accordance with Oregon Tort Claims Act. Section 2.3a requires an occurrence basis insurance policy versus a claims made type basis.
Could you explain the difference between the two?
Which one on the
Occurrence
Occurrence
versus
basis
claims
versus claims made basis. Yeah, I can.
No, go ahead. I mean, it's just, I don't have the specific definition of that, so.
No, my goal really was to try to just summarize the points that legal counsel made.
It just seems they are the same thing, and yet it implies that they're not, and I was curious as to.
From the guidance offered by Mr. Phillips, it appears to me that an occurrence basis of making insurance coverage is less common It's more familiar, at least, to have more of a claims made. In other words, yeah, I'm struggling a little bit here because I'm not a legal.
That's all right. You know what? Can I ask that we get an email, just giving, at some point in the next few days, giving us the definition of what that means?
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
And all of these provisions that Adam is going to go over are carryovers from the old agreement, so.
Yeah.
And because they are a regulated entity, we don't have much say in what those agreements look like. But we will get you a definition.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that this is something we more or less have to do, and I'm not opposed to doing it in any case, but I would like to know what the difference of those two things are, so.
Yeah,
we-
very good question.
There's no point in struggling with it here, so.
No, I apologize.
Well, I have a general idea, but rather than give you misinformation, which.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate that.
Very good point. So, a couple other things, the requirement for a 30-day cancellation clause, which is somewhat less common nowadays with changes that insurance companies provide in things like notices. And also a requirement for a waiver of subrogation against PG. If you ask me what that means, I'm going to not be fully aware of the meaning behind that either. But again, we can provide backup information there if the board so desires. And as Mr. Moore said, my closing statement really should have been the first one, that really none of these items that are noted are any different than the first time around when this agreement was presented back in 2012 for review and approval. So again, it's by and large incidental type changes that were made to the agreement. And that's basically my summary, and Mr. Moore spoke to this already, just that based on our history with PGE in the last few years of working with them under this agreement with the generator, they are a regulated utility and seen as a very low risk liability to approve the agreement as written, and that's staff's recommendation.
Thank you.
I do have I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Having not been here when this agreement was started, there's obvious reasons to partner with PG. Have no issue with that. The question I have is staff clear about how PG intends to utilize the energy generated by this generator? Is it for peak shedding? Is it for rate shedding? There's lots of ways to utilize that energy. And
In our discussions with PG, it's been, both of those terms have come up.
Right.
In the 6 months that the generator's been operational, part of this agreement is that they do a monthly run of the generator. There has been one instance when the generator ran for longer than that due to some issues that they had at a substation nearby. And to my knowledge, to date, they have not run the generator to do other shedding type activities or backloading power to the grid type activity. But that's, within their.
I was just wondering in the conversation whether or not they had, explained to the district what their reason for being connected to our genset. And usually there's obvious reasons if there's an outage. That I'm not talking about an outage here because a lot of times if there's an outage, it's not going to be any good anyway. But most of the time, cogen is done for, if they can generate power from that during a peak cheaper, then it makes sense to run that. If they can make it,
Well, as you know, the Commissioner, that this is a provision that initially the utilities were not fond of. This is really a regulated requirement that when you have a means to generate alternative power, that any unused power that are in excess of your needs, that the utility has to buy it and put it on the grid. And so that's really what's going on here. And then the second reason would be to exercise the equipment to make sure that when you do need it or when they need it, it does operate. So.
I just think it'd be nice to know how they see the utilization of that piece of equipment. And if you don't know, we need to find out.
They're augmenting power and they're using it as they have already when they have a substation down and they need an alternative source. That's the
And using it as standby
Mhm.
is completely different than using it for peak shedding or
Right.
rate shedding.
Right.
Bob just brought to my attention that clause within, this is a new clause within or a clarified clause within the agreement, if I can read it. It's a couple of lines that may help answer the question. It's operation protocols, part 2.1, page 3 of 15 in the agreement. PGE operation of the generator. PGE shall have the right to operate the generator as follows. PGE shall have the right to operate the generator for an aggregate of up to 100 hours in any calendar year for any of the following three purposes: maintenance checks and readiness testing, emergency demand response for periods in which the reliability coordinator under the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC reliability standard, EOP 0023, capacity and energy emergencies or other authorized entity as determined by the reliability coordinator, has declared an energy emergency alert level 2 or level 3 as defined in their reliability standard, EOP 0023. And lastly, where there is a deviation of voltage or frequency of 5% or greater below standard voltage or frequency. That may mean
That's peak
help
shedding.
answer your
Yeah,
question.
peak shedding.
Okay.
Any more questions? I have one. I received a letter from some kind of a legal person that referring to this action item. Is that person satisfied with what we have now?
I haven't received the letter that you're referencing. You're talking about Dean?
Right? No, not Dean. Some staff member that was legal trained. I had it with me, but I forgot. I can't remember where I put it.
I'm not familiar with the document that
I'll
you're
get you a copy of it
Okay.
and you can respond to it.
Okay.
Another question, this agreement seems to be amended to require a specific kind of diesel, low sulfur diesel. Is that type of diesel readily available so that we
Yes.
can operate?
It is, yes.
Pretty much most of what's coming out of the pumps now is low sulfur diesel. I know I have diesel trucks.
The key is that it doesn't have biodiesel in it.
Right?
The key is that it does not have biodiesel in it.
That's true.
The generator doesn't like it, my what does it? The
The
generator
water
doesn't.
truck doesn't like it as much as you think.
Any more questions, comments? If not, we'll have a vote. Warren, you wanted to testify, but
No,
are
I
you
wanna
satisfied
make
with testifying at the end of the
Yeah, I just want
meeting?
to make public comment on something that was occurred last month in the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll have a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humberston?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Soa?
Aye. Number 7, cross-connection control ordinance. First reading.
Well, we don't have draft motion language, so I will move to approve the cross-connection control ordinance 01-2015. And this is the first reading, so by title only.
Ordinance number 01-2015, an ordinance providing for a cross-connection control program as mandated by the Oregon Health Authority and repealing ordinance number 2-2006. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Clackamas River Water previously adopted ordinance number 02-2006, which provided for a cross-connection control program. And whereas the Board of Commissioners finds upon recommendation of staff and legal counsel that it is necessary to repeal ordinance number 02-2006 and adopt this ordinance number 01-2015.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Board, I have one amendment. I talked to Mr. Bornstead earlier today, and I missed it the first time that I read through it. But because this is the first reading, I believe it's the appropriate time to mention a possible amendment to this. And this would be on section 6 where it says penalty. And given the nature of our customer base, I noted that if you look at the last sentence under penalty in section 6, it says, in addition to termination of service under the district rules and regulations, violation of the ordinance shall also be subject to a civil penalty of $500 for each day of violation. I thought that as a practical matter, the way we would administer this, I would like to modify this that says up to $500, and also that we would start at a lesser threshold and then bill to the $500 amount given the nature of our ratepayers and so forth. And that what we're really trying to do here is to obtain compliance and not punish people. So I'd like to enter that.
Good catch.
That was one of my questions. 500 seemed pretty steep.
Yeah.
So you will come back at the next reading with a...
Yeah, by mentioning it here would be my intent to come back with a revised document on the second reading, if the board doesn't have any objection.
Well, as the mover of the motion, I have no objection.
I'm fine with it. That's second.
I will have a roll call vote.
Oh, can I address a couple of things, Mr.
Go
Chairman?
ahead.
Under section 3, cross connections, item D, about the CRW personnel or contractor entering the premises. Two questions. One, is it mandated by our policy that they identify themselves so that they're not just wandering on the property without some form of formal identification that says who they are?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so our policy does reflect that. Okay, and then does the customer have to be home?
So let me clarify. Our operating practice is our employees are, when they're in the field, have on identifiable attire and their ID badge.
Okay,
So
does this apply to the contractor if we use one?
if we use the contractor, they will be identified in a manner that the homeowner would know.
Okay, and then is the homeowner to be present when these efforts are undertaken?
Yes, if you're talking about going on the premises. So let me step back for a second, and excuse me, Adam, for this. That once the board approves the ordinance, which provides more latitude than our specific practice, one of the things that we addressed in the ordinance is that staff would come up with operating procedures, and that's where those issues would be identified.
I just think we always need to be sensitive to people's feelings about private property rights. We have a job to do. You certainly don't object to doing it, but making sure that we're careful about private property rights, I think, is beneficial to all of us.
And likewise, we don't want to put employees in harm's way.
Absolutely not. Okay. That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just to clarify, make sure that's the second bullet I have here, just summarizing some of the steps that we'll take as we move forward in the CRW customer compliance practices for backflow that Mr. Moore is referring to, that those also will be revised once the new ordinance is approved.
Okay.
One from the public who wishes to testify. Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Those opposed, or those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
Commissioner Humberston?
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani?
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil?
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll?
Resolution number 8, 8 is 12-2015. Carol?
Mr. Chairman, point of order, do you wish to have a motion on the floor
Yes,
first?
I do.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the CRW Board adopt resolution number 12-2015, appointing the Budget Committee citizen members for the biennium 2015 through 2017.
Second.
That may actually be moved. We don't have any applications at this time, so this is something that we will bring back to the February meeting, just to keep the board current on what we have done so far. with our recruitment activities. We did put a notice on the billing statement from December 31st. We put a notice on the Clackamas River Water website on December 17th. I also sent out an email to all CRW employees, and I CC'd general managers of some neighboring regions just to ask if they knew any of our customers that might have an interest in serving on the budget committee. And again, I would like to ask board members, if you know of anybody that might have an interest, to please ask them to contact me.
I've talked to one person who declined.
Yeah.
I've got about 3 on my list that I haven't gotten to yet.
Me too.
Well, and I did have a customer that had an interest, but looking at the potential proposed dates, and he was going to be gone and unavailable for most of those days, and so declined to apply at this time. And I again suggested to him, you know, your friends and neighbors nearby, you know, please see if they have an interest.
Could I ask you to amend your motion to table this to the February meeting?
So moved.
I'll accept the new motion.
Any members of the public who wish to testify? Seeing none, roll call vote. All those in favor say aye, those opposed say no.
To clarify, the motion is to table, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I say aye. Make sure it's clear for Aaron.
Commissioner Humberston,
Aye.
Commissioner Kalani,
Aye.
Commissioner McNeil,
Aye.
Commissioner Saw,
Roll call.
Aye.
I missed that.
Yes.
Consent agenda. Cam?
Yes. I had one brief question, but I do move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
And I just had one question. I believe to the general manager on this one.
Okay.
On page 7, there's an item, Geosyntec Consultants, Water Rights Permit, Hydro, and Water Quality Analysis. I just would like to know what that's about.
I believe several months back, I advised the board that we had 2 outstanding permits pending,
Yes.
and we had been given a directive by the state of Oregon that if we intend to pursue those permits, that there's some staff work, additional staff work that's needed. A couple of the items that they've asked us to respond to is beyond staff's capabilities, and that had to do with issues related to Fish and Wildlife and DEQ. And so we've hired a consultant who has a lot of experience in analysis and study of the Clackamas River to come in and provide assistance on that. And so this is a payment under that agreement for the work that they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. We received today a lawsuit from Water took Oregon to various people, various water agencies around us, not including us.
Right.
Does this have anything to do with that?
Not directly. CRW was not a participant in that litigation. And we're upstream of a lot of the entities that are engaged in that. But the issues that were raised in that litigation also affects, or has the potential of affecting our permit request. And so that's some of the information that we need to study with the help of this consultant to determine whether or not we want to continue pursuing, and we're going to be having a meeting next week in order to determine whether or not I would recommend to the board whether or not we continue in that effort to get those additional water rights, or if we drop them.
And when we're having that meeting,
It
work
would,
session?
I'm sorry.
our work session for?
No, this is a meeting that staff was gonna have with the consultant to get a status report on the work effort. And then I will be apprising the board at our next meeting, or even at our work session, what the outcome is of that.
Any more comments? This is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Informational reports. Carol?
Good evening. This evening I would like to talk to you about the proposed budget calendar, and we're looking a little far into the future here. We're looking all the way into April and May. What I am proposing is that we proceed with the budget as we did last year, which would be Thursday meetings, and we would start 2 weeks before the May board meeting. We would skip the week of the board meeting because you guys are here anyway for that. We would have a third and final meeting if needed on May 21st, giving us sufficient time to advertise for the budget hearing. And my proposal is to schedule the budget hearing at the June 11th regular board meeting. So just, I don't know if people have their calendars with them and they can look at that. This is just kind of a draft out there, and maybe you would all just like to respond to me individually if you have any conflicts with those dates.
I have a question. We have this as actually a budget calendar to be moved upon. Is that necessary tonight? I'm okay with it,
yeah.
but do you need a motion or not?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I also have a question. Will these dates be on our calendar that we have
Yes, we will,
revised?
as soon as the board approves them, we will add them to your calendar.
When would you anticipate wanting us to approve them?
At the February meeting would be fine. We'll put it as an action item on the February meeting, and we can make any adjustments that I hear from any of the board members. And then we'll be sharing that with them.
Management report. Mr. Moore?
Oh, did you want?
I just have one more
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I know last year that Commissioners Humberston and Kalani went to the local budget law workshops. Probably don't need to go to those twice. And there haven't been a lot of changes, but I did want the board to be aware of the fact that they will be offering that workshop again. It's the most convenient one is at Clackamas Community College. It's March 3rd, 2015. And as soon as we have additional budget committee members, we will send that information out to the budget committee members as well, so that they have an opportunity to attend. But I just wanted all of the board members to know that, you don't have to register or anything else. You can just show up. And March 3rd at Clackamas Community College. I believe in your packet is a list of all of the locations that they will be offering those meetings.
Last year, I took one of our new budget committee members to the second time. So let me tell you, if you think it's dry the first time, it's really dry the second time.
I have a question for Carol. CA2, just trying to make sure I understand this right. So cash receipts for is that for 2 months? 824,183?
No, that's just 1 month.
That's 1 month.
Mhm.
And then we transferred $750,000 of those receipts to the GIP account?
Correct.
After we paid the other bills?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
And so is that a pretty normal thing, that number?
That's the highest amount that we have transferred since I've been with.
That's what I was wondering. It looked to me like.
And in fact, because we moved the commercial accounts to the opposite months, we have really smoothed out our cash flow. So we have money flowing in every month, either from the commercial accounts or from the residential accounts. And so as the dollar started peaking, we were able to put that into the LGIP, the local government investment pool.
Right.
We didn't need to spend it to pay accounts payable bills at that time. So since I've been here, we've moved money from the local government investment pool into the general checking account to cover some of our costs, particularly when we pay larger bills for CIP. I believe in October, we moved $500,000
Yeah,
to
for the
the
generator.
LGIP, and then And then in this month, we were able to move 750,000.
And what is LGIP paying us now?
They are at 0.6%. Not great. It's actually better than what those pools are getting in both Washington and California. So, you know, I figure we're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, okay. Good, thank you, Carol. The reason I want to know is I'm trying to figure out, I'm watching what our rate increase is generating and trying to get a feel for what that's doing, I mean, for our capital situation. So, thank you.
And you can see there, Commissioner, that we've added almost $2 million
Right.
to the reserves, and so that's good.
Yeah.
And good report, Mr. Moore.
What I'd like to point out to the board is that one of the things that I've tried to do is provide a little bit more information in the manager's report. And so I've added to its content with reports from each of the key departments. So that's something that we hadn't done in the past, and over the last several months, we've been doing that. So that said, the first item that I have is that myself and several board members attended the Clackamas County Chamber of Commerce luncheon on December 1st. And the topic was a report that was distributed by Metro that really talked about housing. And we had a presentation from a speaker who came in and was concerned, as were many in attendance, about the focus of the Metro report, which was that we were following if we were to follow their report, we would be really following a Portland model, which is vertical growth versus single-family residence and the like. And I think the concern is that if you, there was some concern about the believability that people were going to move into multiple family units versus single-family residence. And I believe since that meeting was held, many of the cities, municipalities, have since filed a report, and I think the Clackamas area filed also a collective report opposing Metro's findings and suggesting that they need to give a little bit more emphasis to single-family residents. So it was a good meeting. It was well attended, and I thought the discussion was lively.
That's not Metro's, that's not what Metro wants to be.
Yeah. Well, Metro is trying to hold all future development inside the current urban growth ring, and there's an assumption that people are going to live in multiple family units and that growth will be vertical. And quite frankly, that's a notion that's even being challenged in Portland. You know, this idea of zero, density kind of thing, and people are going to live on top of each other and so forth. There's a lot of complaints, and I know the Portland City Council has got an issue, has this issue on their agenda, because neighborhoods are really, really objecting to this. Build a house wherever you can, in many cases 25-foot wide lots, and mother-in-law quarters and so forth. It's just becoming a problem, especially with parking and traffic and everything else.
They've built a lot, thousands of units
Yeah.
in the last 2 years, thousands of units in the last 2 years, with virtually no parking available for anybody that lives in units.
If you're familiar with Portland, all you need to do is drive down Division Street, and they pretty much destroyed that neighborhood.
Yeah, so's Hawthorne, same way.
Hawthorne, same way.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the problem with that presentation was their statistical source, because they were saying, I think the norm has been about 65% people want to have single-family homes. That's what they aim for, and maybe 30 to 40% would be interested in multiple family dwellings, and oftentimes that's either when they're very old or very young, getting started. And they seem to have completely reversed those numbers, but surveys don't support the reversal of the numbers.
That's correct.
So,
Especially with younger people, essentially people who are really aspiring for families and so forth, do not want to live in apartments, you know. They really want places for their children to be able to exercise and so forth. But anyway, it was, I think thanks to Mr. Platt, who's in the audience, who kind of got us all there, and it was a very lively discussion. So. CRWP, we had a couple of presentations there. This is Clackamas River Water Providers. The first one was from the U.S. Geological Service, and they essentially had placed monitors in the Clackamas River, thinking that maybe they could find something as a result of the forest fire that we had in the watershed over the past summer. And as we learned from Dr. DiLorenzo in her presentation to both this board and Sunrise's board, that their findings came up negative. And they intend to continue with their survey work. And so if anything comes out of it, we'll keep you posted. We also had a presentation from Eugene Water and Electric Board on emergency preparedness program. And believe it or not, it was a discussion about water jugs. They had obtained 3-gallon water jugs that they used in conjunction with the American Red Cross. It proved to be as an alternative source of kind of emergency water. And they're finding that the 3-gallon jugs were both manageable and desired versus anything smaller than that. And apparently they had about 10,000 jugs that they gave out within 1 week's time. So they hope to replicate that in the spring of this year. And the water providers, rather than trying to add that to our operating budgets, we basically said if we are interested that we would subscribe to those separate from the Clackamas River organization. So that therefore.
I have a question. I read the UASI grant that we got our filling thing, the thing that we had with the bladders and all of the stuff, the 13,000 gallon unit that we have. And I was, your thing is raise an issue. In that grant, it says that we shall not dispense into containers that are brought to the site unless we can ensure that those containers are either cleaned on site or have some way of making sure that they are clean. And so if we're we're out of water and we're filling bags, because that's what we have. What do we have, like 15,000 bags that we were granted?
Yes.
And so, and the connection is designed to fill the bags because they have a special connection to do that. It seems strange. I mean, there's something weird about this for me because if they bring you a container and they want a drink of water to take home, I think I'd fill the can, but and let them worry about it being clean or not clean. And that kind of goes back to this thing here. And I don't know where Don or the agency is, but I'd hate to see a fight break out at a dispensing location because you wouldn't fill somebody's bucket of water. So
first of all, I can guarantee you that if we had that kind of emergency.
I mean, I in reading the grant, I'm going, wow, this is just weird. You know, like, it's got to be something came from the Fed. You know?
We probably ask for forgiveness later.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just had to chuckle when I read that.
But essentially, the jugs were designed to augment the bags.
Yeah.
And they're more rigid containers, and they are sealed, although nothing prevents people who have them from using them for other purposes.
Yeah.
So, but you're kind of leaving that up to the individual homeowner as to whether or not it's clean enough, for them to do that.
Well, it's more of the Fed trying to protect everybody from themselves. And it doesn't work, especially in that situation. Thank you.
The other thing that we had that probably should have a half of an asterisk on it is the CRWP has completed its analysis on the use of the Lake Oswego pipe that was going to be abandoned when their new treatment plant comes online.
The under river crossing?
Yes, and has suspected that's not a viable alternative. Essentially, you're taking Clackamas River water and to Clackamas River water, which really defeats the whole purpose of what we're talking about. So I think we all agreed that the intertie, that the abandoned intertie that CRW has to Rockwood is still the preferred way to go. Plus, I think that, and if I'm not mistaken, Bob, that intertie would only generate about, what, 3 MGD if they were to do it? It wasn't, you know, we need about 20 collectively.
Oh, the Lake Oswego option,
Yeah.
it was way below what we projected would be need for the North Clackamas area, which would be our different water providers. It didn't even get close to the amount either. We're up at 15 or 16 million on average day, 18 I think. I don't remember the exact number, but it was high teens, and the one coming across the river, because of the size, was limited to 3 or 4 MGD.
Yeah.
So it'd be very limited amount of water available.
And plus the route to get here would require a lot of money, and we'd be better off spending that money on something more viable, like the Powellview.
I heard they were gonna just pull a fiber in for communications. Serious.
I haven't heard that one.
I mean, I've heard that from Oswego, so.
So. Next item is the labor relations training. CRW and Sunrise, we brought in our labor relations firm, and we put on training for managers from both agencies. It was attended, very well attended, and I thought it was informative for those who are not that familiar with labor relations or public employment laws, and so we're really planning on doing more of this as a result of the 190, is really kind of bringing both teams of managers together and do joint training. We'll probably do one on compensation. We'll do, so as issues come up, then we're using the opportunity to train both organizations collectively. The update on labor relations, we spent all of Monday and Tuesday either preparing for or engaged in mediation. We were not successful at arriving at an agreement yesterday, and I'm not in a position at this point to know where we are in the process. We have put in a call to the union's representative to see where they think we are, and so when we do, I'll certainly inform the board of what's going on. The Carver Bridge update, as you know, we have shared with you in the past that we're still having issues with the contractor in terms of the pipe installation on that bridge. We have had a letter that we've asked Oregon City to transmit on our behalf, and they did.
Clackamas County.
I'm sorry, Clackamas County. I have Oregon City on the brain, but thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
Clackamas County to forward to the contractor on our behalf, and that has happened. Essentially telling the contractor that the problem is theirs to fix, and so we'll see what happens there. The engineering update is, as you can see from this, the staff has been extremely busy working on the draft for the master plan. They've participated in several meetings with Sunrise Water, discussing how we will join the engineering functions under the 190. Continued with the systems operation integration with engineering and the operations group. The CIP design work for water line relocations related to county projects is Bell Avenue and Tolbert Bridge and Monterey Avenue extension. There's preliminary design work on the Hatton Road transmission main, and we're studying water service in the CRW Myers-Leland Road service area. We have issues with private development, or not issues, but project, 1,400 linear feet of 8-inch water line and 3 fire hydrants and 36 services to the Josephine Estates area, so that work is ongoing. And this work has been going on, and I think you've been down a couple of staff people throughout from the beginning of the fiscal year. But in spite of that, you can see that the work is still continuing. In water services, we've got general sheet metal. Work includes 2-inch water service and 6-inch fire services. You can, rather than read these to you, you can see the rest of them that are listed there. And there's the design, construction, inspection, and project administration for the Carver Bridge. We talked about that. Sunrise JDA work with ODOT. Maple Lane, that's a county project. 82nd Avenue at King Road is an ODOT project, and 70th Avenue reconstruction is a county project. Emergency management, we've been putting on training in emergency preparedness and incident command. I know that there's been a discussion with Sunrise Water about performing their COOP planning activity, and I think there's a June 1st, 2015 date for that to complete. We've also had some work on joint training with Sunrise on confined space. That went extremely well. We also invited Boring Water and City of Lake Oswego. They also participated in that training. There's still some additional work to be done in confined space, but so far staff has done an excellent job in meeting the requirements, the state requirements, of making sure that our people are properly trained. In fact, I think one of the things that the board might want to note, in case you're asked, is that our customers now are able to sign up for rapid pay or reoccurring credit card payments over our website. And there's a web address there that they can use, and then all the customer has to do is just click on pay your water bill online, and you can do that now. And the only thing that the customer needs is to know their utility billing account number and the name on the account, and they'll be able to do it. We've also had in our fax department, I think it's a note for the board to know that we had an employee who has worked here for 27 years who have notified us that she's retiring. So that would be forthcoming. I believe it's at the end of this month is when that's going to occur. In HR, we've been helping Sunrise. I think they have some vacancies there in their operations department. Been helping them with the recruitment. And we just posted a temporary position in our water quality department because we have an employee who's going out on maternity leave, and so we need to backfill on that. And we've already talked about employee relations. The insurance, remember when Mr. Griffin came here, he was believing that he could get a reduced payment from the insurance carrier. Remember, it was at 7%, and the board had asked to advise when we finally knew what the actual number is going to be, and he's got it down to 4%. So there's a 3% reduction, and I think that was a good effort on his part. Water resources, we're working on the SCADA project with Sunrise. Our IT department has kind of run point on that. Again, rather than read it, you can see that there are significant savings that are forthcoming out of that. And for the first 5 years, and then after the first 5 years, the ongoing savings will be about 15,600 by us marrying our two systems. We now have all of the SCADA equipment for both Sunrise and CRW is located in this building, and so I think we're going to have good outcomes there. And we just finished an audit. We haven't received the outcome yet of our south service area from the Oregon Health Authority, and when we get those results, we'll let the board know. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Now is the point where we have final public comment. Warren, you're up.
I just wanted to address an issue last month that cleared up in the public record because I think false information was put out on the manager's report. I got this notice, and I didn't know anything about what was talked about until I went home, and this document about the appellate court and deferring court costs for the management claim that I got to sell assets that could continue my court fight. Well, that was not true. The document that, I don't know if you guys got it, the attorneys got it, they deferred all court costs and everything. So I just want to put it out for the record. And so it was a false impression. And also, I'd like to ask if you, in the future, would have management clarify whether they're referring the document, if they use my court case, whether it's from the appellate court or whether it's from the county. Because the appellate court has different thought process than the county does. And for public record, the appellate court's the one that needs to be out put out in public, not the court, because they're already biased. So I would just ask if it could be clarified anytime in the future what document, what courts the management's putting out to the public.
Have you respond, Ms. Moore?
Yes, the document that I referenced was from the State Court of Appeals, and I read directly from the document.
Can I read the document in public, or would one of you guys like to? Because it doesn't say anywhere that I must sell to continue my court case.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it?
Do you require a response to that?
Well, no, I just want to make sure in the future, I mean, don't just pick out a tiny piece that may be this or that. We're going to refer to a document in public and try to deface somebody's name or whatever to use the exact wording in the whole document, just not pieces like the newspaper and stuff do. When that happened last month.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Commissioner business. Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carol, would you come up, please? The Government Finance Officers Association has once again awarded Clackamas River Water a budget presentation award. I'll read the citation. The Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada presented a distinguished budget presentation award to Clackamas River Water, Oregon, for its annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014. In order to receive this award, a governmental unit must publish a budget document that meets program criteria as a policy document, as an operations guide, as a financial plan, and as a communications device. I want to congratulate you from the board on a job well done, and your staff. This is the award letter and the award. And I, as a personal comment, having looked at a few public budgets over my lifetime, as most of us probably have here, I've never seen a cleaner audit in any organization I've ever been around, so it was a very good job.
Thank you.
Be sure and get your expense reports in on time. Very quick, have one.
You have a new format.
Yeah, we have forms filled out.
I'm gonna wanna talk about that, or we can figure it out on our own. These,
I'll defer to Carol.
okay?
Is it all right if Carol just gives a quick explanation on these?
Sure. Makes my heart swoon and see a little NCR paper back on the day.
Well, what those are, Karen and Aaron who are the board support people, have essentially put together a packet for each board member. So it's kind of a pre-printed form. So essentially what it would give you is the original, which you would turn in, and then the NCR copy is for your own record. So rather than have a lot of loose paper flying around, we thought if we put those in a bound folder, that it would probably work best for the board. So that's essentially what it is. It's for your expenses.
So there's no reason, I just keep this electronically, so mine's just on the computer.
Well, we
And that's
have,
fine, I just.
we have users of all persuasion.
I understand, not a problem. I thought that maybe there was some some obligatory reason that we had these, and I'm going, okay,
Well, for those of us.
I'll still
who-
scan it and say.
For those of us who are not as computer literate.
Okay.
Or just like the feel of paper.
Yeah.
Because most people even electronically want to print a copy.
Yes.
So you gotta remember, NCR paper boys, you gotta put the thing or they're gonna all look the same.
Moving on, Dave, did you have something about the Beaver Creek?
Just, I guess we could probably cover mostly, I did meet with Tammy Stevens for an hour yesterday. She had some more questions about how that was gonna go, and I get a sense that they're still kind of fishing, trying to figure out, you know, what's going on with Oregon City, and I just basically said, you know, the district is looking to, you know, enhance the water services in the Beaver Creek area, and we would like to have the support of the hamlet to do that. And that's kind of the long and the short of it. So I don't really care about all the other issues. I don't see us as being part of that, so.
Any questions, comments?
I guess the question I have for Commissioner McNeil, I haven't had a chance because I've been busy with mediation stuff. I did see a letter from, I think it's from the Hamlet, that was it objecting or were concerned about our abilities to service, I believe it was an objection that we not look at just the one developer, that we look at that entire development, is kind of how I read it. I spot read it, so I
It's a
apologize
little
for
different
that.
than that. I think what they were trying to get at was, in their case against the piecemeal development. So if here's the nutshell for the whole Beaver Creek thing. Clear back to the lawsuit that Elizabeth Grace or Lindsay filed when they started that whole development thing for the Beaver Creek plan, which went a little bit, and there was a decision that said, you know, nobody can stop the city from developing that, but they can't develop it until there is a plan, an approved plan in place, and that's their objection. There is no approved plan in place today, yet they're through the door trying to get development started without talking about all of the issues, whether it be water or sewer or transportation or storm drains or all of that stuff. And so that's their objection to the one at a time kind of thing, is they don't want to see that because they see Oregon City is not living up to the agreement or to the direction that LUBA had passed down to them. And so that's kind of where it is, and so we're just one piece of that.
So they had a series of questions, and I think maybe, it sounds like Mr. George may know a little bit more about it.
Because the original letter was sent to Bob, I believe.
Yeah. I just thought that the rest of the board might want to know what, and are we supposed to address that when we go to the meeting?
I think we need to address the water parts of that letter.
And only the water.
That's
part.
it.
We don't do transportation, we don't do planning.
We've been talking about water.
That's it.
The letter that Mr. Moore is referring to is a piece of their appeal to Oregon City concerning the development in Beaver Creek. The reason it's sent over to us, because we have committed to serve a piece of property within that plan with a certain amount of water. Their objection is, of course, what Oregon City should have a plan to serve the whole area and not do the piecemeal, like McNeil said. So within their appeal and discussion, there are several points for clarity that we can, and we'll talk about this more in our one-on-one, that we probably should make comment on for clarification. They've kind of taken the understanding that we had committed to supply water to the Beaver Creek plan, and that is not my understanding, the agreement that we have been discussing. We're talking about water for one development.
That was my understanding also, and in fact,
That's the position I was going to relate to them back, that we're committing a certain amount of water that should be determined, and they're also kind of implying that we probably won't have enough water in the future in the south. Well, that's, I don't have a crystal ball, but we are talking a small amount of the total available water we have for the south. So doing this, yes, it is piecemeal, no doubt about it. But we are looking at revenue source, and the water line that would be built would be incorporated into their future, supporting city's future development. That's true, it would be. And the
How
Hamlet
do you know
people
if there's
said,
no master plan? How can you say
Well-
there's no master? That's their point.
well, they do have a master plan. In their water plan, they do show the water lines going out that way. They have a reservoir.
They don't have an
That-
approved master plan.
Yeah, they do have a approved master plan. They have it. Yeah,
Or what? Not that's been adopted by their city council. It
I
doesn't
guess I
exist.
will have to cross-check that,
Yeah,
because they
I
just
don't-
finished one a year ago.
I don't believe
And I
it's
think it is. I can double check on that
Please,
for you. Okay?
we should know that before
But
we do it.
within that plan, they do show the reservoirs, they show a skeleton system. Now, what I do agree with is, with these plans are great, these big 30,000-foot plans, there isn't a lot of detail of how that will develop over time. That is true, that's not there. But an overall skeleton is in their master plan. So I guess the Oregon City have a discussion of what is a plan? And that's not really our call. I do understand what Oregon City plans to do. I don't know their schedule, how it's going to happen.
So anyway, I raise it only because I think it's a larger issue that we are going to go and try to at least communicate with Beaver Creek after the discussion that was had here at a work session, I believe, at the meeting. And this seems to be kind of growing a little bit, and I didn't want the board blindsided by any of this stuff.
Which is why I wanted to make sure that I was clear about what her expectations were from us, that we talk about water and we talk about water.
Right.
And we may talk about fire flow, but we also talk about water.
The maps that I handed out to you,
Right.
the example of a map that probably could be used as part of the discussion
Right.
with the Hamlet group. So if you have any questions or comments about the maps not being clear or want some additional information, let me know. We can modify those maps. And my intent was to have enough 11 by 17s made up and maybe one or two larger maps that the
Yeah.
Hamlet could use for their information.
And one of the things that I asked her was how many people usually attend.
Yeah.
It's 25 to 30.
Just so you- very doable.
Just wanted you to know that.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Ken?
as I recall the discussions, we indicated to the developer that we were interested in and would be willing to entertain the idea of providing service to that one development, and only that one development. In our own discussions, based on the comment that you made, any other development as time went on would be taken on a case-by-case basis based on your assessment of water availability. The presenters, I think, had some interest in the traffic issues and the master plan issues and whatnot like that. And I think the consensus of the board was our issue is that we produce water and we sell water, and if someone wants to buy water from us and it is feasible to do it, we'll certainly consider doing that, but we want to stay out of other people's political issues. You know, I don't know if there's a master plan or not. That's not our problem, as an example. Our issue is, do we provide water or do we not? and leave it at that. That was my understanding of the discussions that we had that night.
Agreed, and the difficulty is that we're gonna have the meeting with Beaver Creek before our next work session, and we
Don't we
will.
have a work session on Monday?
Yeah.
No.
And we have one, what is it, next Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday, yes.
We have-
Which is way before,
Oh, is it?
way before the meeting with Beaver Creek.
But I did come across the document, and I must apologize that I didn't read it in detail, but it looked like it was morphing beyond what was presented to the board earlier, in terms of a concern, because they were asking us to respond to.
The city is asking us to respond as part of this appeal process that the Hamlet is doing. Within their statements, my intent was, but after our discussion, was for clarity. If they made a misstatement representing what we had discussed here, I want to make that clear what our intent was. All the other things that they talk about, it's not our business, but it does, in fact, even half the water issues that they talk about are not even our issues. It is the city's issues. How will they serve the future? Why are they piecemeal? We're looking at an opportunity to sell water, make some revenue in a reasonable manner that doesn't affect our customers for the long term. Beyond that, case by case basis, and that's my understanding of as you presented there.
Thanks.
With that, we are adjourned.